For this video, we're going to look at the homework assignment, Domain and Range Practice, Set A. Go ahead and zoom here, and we're going to take a look at these top 3 graphs. Now, I can already see some arrows here. So before I start anything, I'm going to draw in our table so we can use that as we go through these questions. So here's what I know. Negative infinity will always be on the left side. Positive infinity will always be on the right side. Now, when I use those, it's going to depend on if I'm talking about domain or if I'm talking about range. So when I'm talking about domain, put that in a different color. If it's on the left, I'm going to use negative infinity. So that I'm going to place that right under negative infinity. And if the arrow is going to be right, then I will use positive infinity. Now for range, if the arrow is pointing down, I will use negative infinity. If it's pointing up, positive. So now I can take a look at my graphs. Starting with number 1, I always want to take a look at this arrow first, just to get that out of the way. Now this one is clearly pointing to the left. I'm going to circle left. For up and down, I'm going to say it's going pretty straight, but a little bit up. If you said neither, your answer is going to vary a little bit from mine, but I'm going to say it's going left and up. So what this means is because left is under negative infinity, my domain is going to be negative infinity, something. And because up is under positive infinity, I'm going to have positive infinity there. For my domain, I need to find that missing right side. We didn't circle it, so that's what's missing. The right side of my graph is over here at the number 4. And that's a filled in circle, so it's going to be a bracket that we use. Negative infinity to 4. Now the downside, the bottom of my graph, is right here on the axis. That's where the bottom of my graph lies. Anytime I have a line along my axes, that is going to be a 0. And again, there's no open circles here. So that's a closed bracket as well. So my domain, negative infinity to 4, my range, 0 to infinity. Now let's look at graph number 2. I have 2 arrows here. This one is pointing to the left, and it's also pointing up. This one is pointing to the right and pointing up. So since I circled both left and right, I know my domain is negative infinity, positive infinity. Left means negative, right means positive. My range only has up, so I'm only going to have a positive infinity there. I need to find the bottom of my graph though. The bottom of this graph is down here, and it passed through the number. I covered it up, but that was a negative 4. Again, no open circles, so I'm going to use a bracket there. So there's my domain and range. For graph 3, we have no arrows, so I don't have to worry about that. The left side of my graph is over here at -2. The right side of my graph is at 5. Both of those lines pass through open circles only, from, let's say, -2 to 5. Now for my range. The bottom of my graph is down here at 0, and that passes through an open circle. The top of my graph is at 2. So this line, it does touch an open circle here. But because the rest of it, all of this section that it touched, was not an open circle, that 2 is still going to be a bracket. If I lower that line a bit, you can see there is an open circle, but also pieces that are not open circles along the 2. So I will use parentheses for the 0 and then a bracket for the 2. So there's going to be my domain and my range for the first 3 questions. Go ahead and clear this, and we're going to look at questions 4 through 6 now. Four, we've got some arrows again, so let me clear our chart. Looking at arrow number 1, that is pointing to the left and down. So I already know both my domain and range are going to have negative infinities. The second arrow is pointing to the right and down. So again, my domain is negative infinity, positive infinity. My range, on the other hand, only has the negative infinity. So you can see this matches what we circled on the table. First 2, and then the left side. Now I need my top row. Here's the very top, the upper section of my graph. At 3, there is no closed circle, so that's a bracket. Now for my second graph, no arrows here, also no closed circles. So I know everything, no open circles, I mean, everything is going to be a bracket. Start off with my walls. The left wall is at -4. The right wall is at +4. So my domain, -4, +4. Now for the floor and the ceiling. The bottom of the graph is on the axes, so that is 0. The top of the graph is at 5. So this goes from 0 to 5. For our third graph, we have an arrow again. Let's take a look at that. It is pointing down and to the right. So for my domain, I'm going to have a positive infinity on the right side. For my range, I'm going to have a negative infinity on the left side. Now to fill in the missing section. I'm looking for that left piece of the graph, which is over here at -4, going through that open circle, making it a parentheses. And now I need the upper part of my graph. that goes through 3, and also an open circle, so a parentheses. So here are my answers for 4, 5, and 6. Let's take a look at the last 3 for set A, 7, 8, and 9. So for number 7, we have an arrow again. Let's go ahead and remove our circles from the graph, from the table. Take a look at that arrow. It is pointing down. It is also pointing to the left. So negative infinities only. Negative infinity, negative infinity. And again, if we look at our table, negative infinity is always in the beginning. So we need that right side of the graph. It is on the axes, going through an open circle. So that is going to be 0 with a parentheses. Now the top part of the graph goes through 4, also with the open circle. So I have negative infinity 0 and negative infinity 4. Now for this arrow and for number 8, that is pointing to the right and it is pointing up. So both positive infinities this time. Positive infinity for domain because it's going right. Positive infinity for range because it's going up. Now there's no open circles, so everything else is going to be a bracket. The left side is at -4, closed circle, so a bracket. The downside, the lower side, is at -2, so also a bracket because no open circles. So we have -4 to infinity, -2 to infinity. Both the numbers are in brackets. Now with our last graph for set A, no arrows. We do have some open circles here. Left side, -2, open circle. Right side, +2, open circle. So -2, +2, both in parentheses because of the open circles. Bottom of my graph at -3, there's no open circle, so that's going to be a bracket. Top of the graph at 2, that's an open circle, so a parentheses. Bracket -3, 2, parentheses. So those are all of our questions for set A. Next video, we will look over the problems for set B.